I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where the entire room freezes, where voices die mid-laugh and every eye locks on you. But I have, and it started with 12 words. You and my sister would be perfect in bed. Try it. You're both boring. That came from my wife, Jenna. We were standing under the fairy lights in our backyard in Portland, her birthday, of all things. The September air was cool but pleasant, the fire pit crackling, and a circle of friends buzzed around us with drinks and grilled shrimp skewers. The kind of night you don't forget for all the right reasons, until she gave us a new reason entirely. Her sister Lily had just handed her a second margarita, smiling, and Jenna, already half giggling from the first, tipped her head back and said it. Loud, like a punchline. At first, I thought I misheard. Then I saw the faces. Michael, our neighbor, choked on his beer. Sasha stared wide-eyed like she'd been slapped. And Lily went still. Jenna, I said, sharp enough to cut through the laughter still trying to escape someone's throat. What did you just say? Jenna blinked at me, confused. Or pretending to be. What? It's a joke, she slurred, waving her drink lazily. Come on, don't be so uptight. Lily stepped back a full pace, her voice flat and cold. That's not funny, Jenna. Not even close. You're insane, I added, not even trying to hide the edge in my voice. You think humiliating both of us in front of everyone is just casual party humor? And right there, under the soft flicker of those string lights, the mood crashed like glass on concrete. No one moved. The kind of silence that makes you want to disappear into the floor. But Jenna didn't flinch. No, she smirked, like we were the ones making too big a deal out of it. Oh, come on, Adam. Don't act like you haven't noticed how pretty she is. You've always had a soft spot for Lily. Maybe I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You're drunk, Lily snapped, stepping closer to me. And disgusting. And I just stared at Jenna, trying to make sense of the person standing across from me. This wasn't the woman I married. Not the one I spent 10 years building a life with. Mortgage, travel plans, Sunday brunches, little fights over laundry. None of that aligned with what I saw in her eyes now. Wild. Mean. Reckless. I turned to our guests, some pretending to scroll their phones, others quietly excusing themselves. The party was over, and everyone knew it. Except her. Where are you all going? Jenna called out, actually laughing as Sasha grabbed her jacket. Don't be such prudes, it was just a joke. I looked at her one last time before stepping away, the fire's warmth suddenly feeling miles away. You embarrassed yourself, Jenna, and you don't even see it. She rolled her eyes. You're overreacting. But I wasn't. That night, I lay awake next to her. Though she was too drunk to notice, I didn't say a word. Just stared at the ceiling, replaying her voice, her smirk, Lily's flushed cheeks. I should have been angry. And I was. But underneath that, there was something colder, something starting to turn. Maybe I should tell you something about myself. My name's Adam. I'm 36. I teach architecture at the university. I build things for a living. Homes. Plans. Stability. I believe in foundation. In structure. I used to believe in my marriage that way, too. But that night, something cracked in me, and I couldn't unhear it. Couldn't forget how easily she tried to humiliate me. How public it was. How deeply it landed. And I knew one thing for sure. She was going to learn what it felt like to lose control. The morning light crept through our kitchen windows like it didn't know a bomb had gone off the night before. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with the soft hum of the dishwasher. Outside, our backyard looked untouched, innocent. Birds still chirped. The fire pit sat cold and neat, like it hadn't been ground zero for something unspoken. Jenna stood at the counter in leggings and one of my old college sweatshirts, barefoot, hair pulled up carelessly. She was humming. Actually humming. I leaned against the doorway, watching her pour herself a cup like everything was fine. You sleep okay? She asked casually, without looking at me. I didn't answer right away. I just walked to the fridge, pulled out the creamer, and set it down harder than necessary. She flinched, but barely. I'm guessing you don't remember much from last night, I said finally, voice low. Jenna sipped her coffee and glanced over her shoulder with a smirk. Oh, come on. You're not still sulking about the joke, are you? The way she said joke made my skin prickle. It wasn't funny. Her eyes narrowed, just for a second. Then she turned and leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. Okay, Adam, let's hear it. What exactly offended you? That I said you and Lily would be a good match? Or that I called you boring? I looked at her hard. You humiliated me in front of our friends. And your sister. She let out a short laugh, sharp like glass breaking. Please. Everyone was laughing. Yeah, before the silence hit like a brick. You crossed the line. Jenna pushed off the counter and walked past me to the table, her coffee in hand like a shield. You're being dramatic. No, I said, following her. I'm being honest. You made it sound like I've been eyeing Lily, like we're interchangeable to you. Like none of it matters. It doesn't, she shot back. It was a joke. You know, the kind people laugh at instead of dissecting like a sermon. I stared at her, trying to find a trace of the woman I used to confide in. There was no apology in her voice. No regret. Just irritation. Do you even know how Lily reacted? She looked up, frowning now. Why do you care how Lily reacted? I froze. It was a subtle thing, the way her tone sharpened on Lily's name. But I caught it. You dragged her into something she didn't ask for, I said carefully. You put words in her mouth. You made it weird. I didn't make anything weird, Jenna said, voice rising now. If anything's weird, it's how worked up you are over this. She's my sister. And there it was. That old shift. When Jenna felt cornered, she'd stop defending and start accusing. Twist the lens. You don't get to flip this on me, I said, tone steel now. You embarrassed both of us. I need to know you understand that. She slammed her mug down. Jesus, Adam, do you want me to tattoo I'm sorry on my forehead? No, I replied evenly. I want you to mean it. She went quiet then, real quiet. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes darted sideways like she was recalibrating. And I realized something chilling in that silence. She didn't feel sorry. She felt challenged. You're being really emotional, she finally said. And that was the trigger. The way she said emotional, like it was a weakness. Like I was the unstable one for caring too deeply about being humiliated. Don't worry, I said, grabbing my keys off the counter, my voice cool again. Next time, I'll laugh along. Where are you going? She called as I opened the door. I paused, looked over my shoulder. Out. For a drive. To clear my head. From this joke we're apparently still telling. The door clicked shut behind me. And for the first time since I married her, I felt like the joke had finally stopped being funny. The clink of ceramic mugs and the low hum of indie folk music filled the little coffee shop tucked between the art building and the old bookstore. It was one of those Portland spots that smelled like cinnamon and wet paperbacks. I hadn't been here in years. But Lily had picked it. Said she needed to get out of the house. Said she hadn't stopped thinking about what happened. When I spotted her, she was already seated by the window, fingers wrapped around a cup, her posture too stiff for someone trying to look relaxed. She looked up the moment I walked in, eyes sharp, like she'd been rehearsing what to say. Hey, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. Lily gave a tight smile. You look terrible. I huffed a laugh. Thanks. You too. She rolled her eyes, but didn't disagree. For a moment, we just sat in silence. The awkward kind. Though we've never been alone together like this kind. I stirred my coffee even though I didn't take sugar. Finally, she said, she crossed a line. I looked up. You think? Lily leaned in, her voice low but firm. She's always had this thing. Needing to feel superior. Making people squirm. But that wasn't just a joke. She meant it to land, I said. And it did. Lily's jaw tightened. I should have walked out. I should have slapped her first. I blinked. You considered slapping your sister? She didn't even blink. I still am. We both laughed. Genuinely. It felt strange and necessary at the same time. I watched her sip her coffee, her fingers trembling just slightly. There was more here, more than hurt pride. I could see it in the way she kept avoiding my eyes. She embarrassed you too? I said quietly. Lily met my gaze then, and something in her expression softened. She made me feel used. Like I was a prop in some twisted performance. I nodded. That's exactly what it was. She looked down, then back at me, hesitant but curious. So what now? You just let it go? I tried talking to her this morning, I said. She laughed it off. Got defensive. Turned it on me. Lily snorted. Classic Jenna. I took a deep breath. I want her to understand what she did. I want her to feel it. Lily tilted her head. You mean, like revenge? No, I said, then paused. Not revenge. Just clarity. She watched me for a long moment, then leaned back slowly. What if we made her think her worst fear is coming true? I stared at her, caught off guard. She thinks you and I are boring? Predictable? She continued. Let's show her something. Different. I blinked. You want to pretend? Not do anything, she clarified. Just be close. Let her imagination run wild. I raised an eyebrow. You're serious? Lily nodded. Let jealousy do the work. If she wants to play with fire, let her feel the heat. A slow smile crept onto my face. Just for fun, I said. She smirked. Just fun. But under the table, my hands had started to sweat. And I wondered, was it really going to stay that simple? Jenna's parents live in a pale blue craftsman-style house just outside Lake Oswego. It's the kind of place where wind chimes always tinkle and the driveway is lined with rose bushes Jenna's mom obsesses over. Normally, these weekend visits are safe, uneventful. We talk about work, sip lemonade, and pretend nothing about our lives is ever messy. But today, I brought the mess with me. And her name was Lily. Jenna opened the door when we arrived, her smile faltering the second she saw us standing side by side. I wasn't touching Lily, nothing so obvious, but the way we walked in sync, the way I let her laughter fill the entryway, it was loud enough without volume. Hey sis, Lily said cheerfully, brushing past her. Jenna's eyes tracked every movement. You two came together? Traffic was insane, I said casually. We figured carpooling made sense. Lily winked. Better for the planet. Inside, the house smelled like baked ham and cinnamon. Jenna's dad was watching a football game in the living room, her mom fussing with place settings in the dining area. If they sensed anything off, they didn't show it. At least not yet. Lily and I stayed close. Not clingy, just comfortably near. We laughed too long at small jokes, passed dishes back and forth like a couple in rhythm, and during dinner, I leaned in to whisper something about the potatoes, brushing her hand as I did. Jenna was chewing slowly, eyes fixed on her plate like it had personally offended her. Her mom noticed. Everything okay, honey? Jenna looked up with a brittle smile. Peachy, but her fork scraped hard against the plate. After dinner, we moved out to the backyard patio. Jenna stood stiffly near the fence, wine glass gripped tight. I was sitting beside Lily on the bench swing, letting her talk about some botched camping trip they had as kids. She was animated, face bright, and honestly, I wasn't faking it. I was enjoying her. That's when I felt it, Jenna's eyes burning into me. When I turned, she was already walking over. Can I talk to you? She snapped. I glanced at Lily, who gave me a small nod. Sure. She pulled me into the kitchen and spun around, arms crossed tight. What the hell are you doing? I raised my eyebrows. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. You've been glued to her all night. She's your sister. Exactly, she hissed. And you're embarrassing me in front of my family. I tilted my head, letting a slow smirk form. Oh, so this feels embarrassing? Jenna blinked. What's that supposed to mean? I stepped closer, my voice soft but steady. You humiliated me. And Lily, in front of our friends. This is just a friendly dinner, right? Her jaw clenched. You're doing this on purpose. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her face flushed deep red. I could practically see her pulse pounding at her temple. You're trying to make me jealous. I shrugged. Are you? She stepped back, like the words physically shoved her. You're disgusting, she whispered. Maybe, I said quietly. But you laughed first. Behind us, I heard Lily's voice drift in, light and charming as ever. Jenna's mom chuckled at something she said. Her dad called for dessert. Jenna looked like she might combust. She stormed out without another word. I waited a beat, then walked back into the living room like nothing had happened. Lily caught my eye from across the room. I gave the smallest nod. She smiled, and for the first time, it didn't look like an act. And me? I felt something shift inside. Not guilt. Not exactly pride either. Just power. By the time we got home, the sun had slipped behind the hills, casting long blue shadows through the living room windows. I dropped my keys on the entry table like I always did. Jenna didn't even take off her shoes. She was on me the second the door clicked shut. What you did tonight was cruel. Her voice was quiet, but it trembled at the edges. I turned, slipping out of my jacket, speaking without looking at her. Define cruel. She stepped closer. You embarrassed me. In front of my parents. With Lily. Like I was just background noise. I finally met her eyes. Kind of like what you did to me. That was a joke, she said, her voice sharp. This was deliberate. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, taking my time. The silence between us stretched like wire. Then I turned to face her again. Calm. Collected. So was this, I said. Just fun, remember? Jenna's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked stunned, like it hadn't occurred to her that someone might use her own defense against her. You think flirting with my sister is fun? She asked, arms tightening across her chest. You think telling people I should sleep with her was? I shot back. Her breath hitched. Her face flushed again, not from anger this time, but from the kind of realization that sneaks up like a cold draft through a crack in the door. You're really going to pretend this is the same thing? She said. You've made it into a game. I leaned on the counter, tapping the rim of my glass. Only because you opened the board. Jenna looked around the room, like she was searching for something to hold on to. Her eyes landed on the framed photo of us from our trip to Zion, back when we used to hike together, before the little jabs turned into deep cuts. You're hurting me, she said finally, voice small. That stopped me. Not because I didn't believe it, but because of how unexpected it was to hear her admit it. And what do you think last weekend did to me? I asked. Do you even remember what you said? Or did you just decide that your version of fun shouldn't have consequences? Her arms dropped. She looked tired now. Not the messy kind, but the worn-out kind. Like something inside her had started to break in slow motion. I didn't mean it, she whispered. That's the worst part, I said. You didn't mean it, but you still said it. For a long moment, we just stood there, surrounded by silence and the steady hum of the refrigerator. I could hear cars passing outside, one after another, like time didn't care we were in a stalemate. Finally, Jenna stepped toward me. Not pleading, more like confused. What do you want, Adam? I studied her face, trying to remember the last time I felt seen by her. Truly seen. I want you to think, I said. I want you to sit in the discomfort. The way you made us sit in it that night. You're punishing me. No, I said, picking up my water and heading toward the stairs. I'm just giving you a mirror. She didn't follow me. I climbed the steps slowly, each one heavier than the last. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't done either. It was one of those warm Portland evenings where the air hums with lazy conversations and clinking wine glasses. Martin and Kayla, friends from Jenna's side, had invited us for a small dinner at their loft apartment. Exposed brick walls, candlelight, record player humming something retro in the background. Jenna hadn't said much during the car ride over, just stared out the window like the buildings passing by owed her an apology. I, on the other hand, arrived with Lily. We didn't plan it that way. Not exactly. We just happened to text about the party. Realized we were coming from the same part of town. Shared a ride. At least, that's what I told myself. We walked in together, laughing about something ridiculous from our college days. Lily reminded me how I once accidentally set a toaster on fire trying to make bagels in the dorms. Our inside jokes had rhythm now, a language, and everyone noticed. Especially Jenna. Her face barely held a smile as we entered. She was already nursing a glass of rose, her back too straight, eyes darting between us like she was trying to find a thread to pull us apart. Adam, Lily, Martin greeted us. Didn't know you two were a package deal now. Lily grinned. Carpooled. Gas is expensive. Jenna's lips tightened. We settled in for dinner. An overlong pasta course, overpriced wine, Martin narrating the story of how he tried to build a pizza oven and ended up calling the fire department. Everyone laughed. Even Jenna, though hers felt late. Thin. And then it happened. Lily and I were sitting side by side, hands brushing occasionally as we passed the bread, our banter effortless. I reached for the wine bottle, topped off her glass, and she leaned close to thank me, her hand touching my forearm. That's when I said it. Honestly, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. We really do make a good pair, huh? The table went quiet. Not dead quiet. Just tight. Eyes flicked to Jenna. Lily chuckled softly, playing it off with just enough flirt in her voice to make it believable. Some would say long overdue. Even Martin raised an eyebrow. Jenna set her wine glass down harder than she meant to. A small splash jumped onto the tablecloth. I need some air, she said sharply, standing up. Kayla tried to smooth it over. You okay? Fine, Jenna said, already walking. Just hot in here. I didn't follow. Lily looked at me, the edge of her smile faltering slightly. Too much? I shook my head. Not enough. Outside, I could see Jenna through the window, standing on the balcony with her arms crossed, staring at nothing. Her silhouette looked small, fragile even, and for a brief second, I wondered, was this still about teaching her a lesson, or had I crossed into something else? The rest of the evening blurred by. We stayed, ate dessert, Lily told a story about her worst Tinder date. People laughed. I added sarcastic color commentary. When the party wound down, we thanked our hosts and headed out into the warm night. Jenna didn't say a word during the ride home. She sat with her face turned toward the window, fingers motionless in her lap. Her silence was no longer defensive, it was distant, wounded. When we pulled into the driveway, I killed the engine and waited for her to say something. Anything. But all she did was get out and walk inside. No door slam. No glare. Just retreat. And for the first time since this game began, I felt something unexpected rise in my chest. Not guilt. Not regret. Just the faint sting of victory and the unsettling question that came with it. What exactly had I won? I couldn't sleep that night. The house was silent. Jenna had gone to bed without a word, shutting the bedroom door with the kind of quiet that screams. I lay on the living room couch, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me, its rhythm matching the circular thoughts I couldn't shut off. This wasn't how I imagined the aftermath. I thought I'd feel triumphant, smug maybe, like I'd finally pulled even. But instead, there was this strange buzz under my skin, and it wasn't about Jenna anymore. It was Lily. The way she laughed without restraint. The way she leaned into our little game with sharp wit and natural timing. How she never once looked at Jenna for approval. Not anymore. She'd grown bold. And tonight, sitting beside her at that dinner table, I saw something I hadn't before. Not just a sister-in-law. Not just an ally. A woman. It hit me in flashes. The way her eyes sparkled when she told that story about the awful date. The little freckle near her collarbone I hadn't noticed before. The way she instinctively reached for my hand when Jenna stormed out. Just a touch. Brief, but grounding. I sat up on the couch, heart thudding harder than I wanted to admit. This wasn't part of the plan. Lily and I had drawn a line. No crossing. No mess. But that line was starting to blur. And the thing that scared me most? I didn't want to redraw it. I pulled out my phone and stared at our last messages. They were light. Playful. She'd sent a gif of a cat knocking over a wine glass with the caption, "Jenna tonight." I'd replied with a smirking emoji. We hadn't texted since. I hovered over the screen, thumb ready to type, but stopped. Instead, I opened the photo app. Scrolled back to earlier that evening. Someone at the party had snapped a group pic, Martin's attempt at a candid dinner memory. In the photo, Lily and I were mid-laugh, my head slightly tilted toward hers, her eyes crinkling at the corners. We looked close. Real. I stared at that photo for a long time, something in my chest tightening. What if this wasn't just performance anymore? What if the thing I was pretending had started to become the thing I actually wanted? I exhaled slowly, set the phone on the coffee table, and leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Maybe it was just adrenaline, or projection, or the weird rush of pulling strings too long. Or maybe it was the first honest thing I'd felt in weeks. Upstairs, the hallway light flicked on. I turned to see Jenna, standing at the top of the stairs in one of my old t-shirts. She looked tired, pale, small. "You coming to bed?" she asked, voice hoarse. I looked at her for a moment, then back at the phone, at the couch, at my own hands. "Not tonight," I said. "I've got some work to finish." She hesitated. Her eyes searched my face, maybe looking for some version of the man she used to know. But she didn't find him. "Okay," she said, and padded back into the bedroom. I sat there long after the door closed. And somewhere deep down I knew. This story was no longer just about humiliation. It was about something I hadn't planned on at all. And I wasn't sure if that made it more dangerous or more real. The next morning came slow and gray. Portland fog draped over the city like someone hadn't finished waking up. I sat at my desk by the window, pretending to scroll through work emails, sipping coffee that had long gone cold. That lingering photo from last night was still open on my phone. The one of Lily and me laughing, our bodies angled instinctively toward each other, like we belonged there. Like the joke was ours alone. I hadn't heard from her since we left the party. And then, just after 10 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Lily. She's at the cafe on Hawthorne. Corner booth. Wearing that blue coat she always thinks makes her look artsy. Come walk in with me." No explanation. No hello. Just that. My heart hitched before my brain could even catch up. Me now. Lily now. I didn't pause. Didn't even change shirts. I grabbed my keys and left without a word. The drive across the river felt like a tunnel, quiet, humming, disconnected from reality. I had no idea what I was walking into. Only that I wanted to be there. That something in her message felt electric, like a live wire humming just beneath the skin. When I pulled up near the cafe, she was already waiting on the corner. Black jeans, dark green sweater, hair pulled back, but not tight, soft, intentional. Her eyes met mine like this was just another errand. Nothing serious. But we both knew better. "Hey," she said, sliding into step beside me. "Hey." We started walking. No plan, no script. Just us. And her hand brushed mine once, then didn't leave. We laced fingers in silence. "You're sure she's in there?" I asked, even though I already knew. Lily gave a soft laugh. "Saw her through the window. She's with someone." "Some guy?" Leaning in close. Laughing too hard. I stopped mid-step. "You knew she'd be here?" Lily didn't stop, just looked over her shoulder with a shrug. "She goes there after her morning yoga class on Thursdays. Like clockwork." I may have nudged her to try a new instructor a few weeks ago. One who ends early. She turned fully to face me now, eyes glinting. I wanted her to see what it looks like when we don't flinch. There was no hesitation in her voice. No apology. I stared at her for a beat. And then I smiled. We pushed through the glass door, and the bell above chimed like it was announcing the act. The cafe was busy, laptops, lattes, muffled laughter. But I saw her instantly. Corner booth. Blue coat draped behind her. She was mid-laugh, touching the arm of a man I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, stylish beard, plaid shirt. He leaned in like he already knew too much. Then her eyes flicked up and froze. Her entire body stiffened, her smile collapsing in on itself like a sandcastle meeting the tide. Lily squeezed my hand once. I didn't let go. We kept walking, slow and deliberate, past the counter, past the other tables, until we were close enough to see the color drain from Jenna's face completely. "Adam," she croaked, voice too loud for the space. I tilted my head. "Jenna." The man shifted uncomfortably. He started to stand, as if unsure whether to introduce himself or escape. Jenna scrambled to speak. "It's not. This isn't what it looks like." But she was still holding his hand across the table. And that told me everything. Lily leaned in then, just enough for her voice to be audible only to me. "She didn't expect to lose the game," she whispered. I looked at Jenna, her eyes darting between us, wide and wet and cornered. And for the first time in this entire mess, I didn't feel the need to say anything clever, or cruel, or even angry. I just smiled. The same smile she wore when she tossed my dignity under the bus. This time, I was behind the wheel. For a long second, no one moved. Jenna sat frozen in that booth, one hand still touching the stranger's wrist like she hadn't realized her fingers were betraying her. Her mouth opened twice, no words, just stammered gasps of silence as her brain scrambled to take control of the unraveling scene. Lily stood still beside me, calm, poised, like this moment was a painting she'd already seen in her mind. Me? I felt my blood roaring in my ears. "Adam, please," Jenna said, finally finding her voice. "You're misreading this." I tilted my head. "You're holding his hand." She pulled it away as if electrocuted, then looked at the man like he might evaporate if she blinked hard enough. He's a friend. A coworker." "Ah," I said, my voice even. "Is that what we're calling it now?" He finally stood, clearing his throat awkwardly. "Maybe I should go, sit," I snapped, locking eyes with him. He froze mid-motion. "Adam, don't do this here," Jenna hissed under her breath. "Don't do what?" I asked, stepping closer. "Point out the obvious? That the woman who called me boring and dared me to sleep with her sister just got caught with her tongue halfway down some stranger's throat in a public cafe?" Gasps echoed around us. A woman at the next table dropped her spoon. Jenna's face turned crimson, then ash pale. "That's not true. I saw you," Lily said quietly, her voice like frost. "From the window. Before we walked in." Jenna's mouth fell open. "You planned this." "No," I said, teeth clenched. "You did. The moment you opened your mouth at that party." She tried to stand, but I stepped into her space. I didn't touch her, but I didn't need to. "I asked you for honesty," I said, voice shaking now. "I gave you space. I let you explain. I even tried to believe this was just insecurity, just some sick joke you didn't mean." I gestured to the man still standing awkwardly between us. "But this is a choice." "Adam, no." I cut her off, voice rising. "You don't get to say my name like it still means something. You gave up the right to look surprised." Her lips trembled. She blinked fast, like she could cry her way out of the moment. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispered. That's when it hit me. She hadn't meant to get caught. That's all. The man beside her cleared his throat again. Look, I didn't know. I turned to him, something dark rising in my chest. You didn't know what? That she was married? Or that she was using you to soothe the ego she shattered on her own floor? He backed up a step. Jenna reached for my arm. Please, can we go outside and talk? I pulled away. Lily stepped forward then, voice clear and quiet. No more secrets, Jenna. You don't get to humiliate people and pretend it didn't matter. You broke something, and you broke it on purpose. People were watching us now, phones in hands, eyes wide. I didn't care. Let them see. Let the whole city watch. Do you even realize what you've done? I asked, my voice dropping now, not with less anger, but with more clarity. She opened her mouth again, but I shook my head. No, I said, stepping back. You don't get another speech. You already said everything you needed to. Weeks ago, loud enough for all our friends to hear. I turned to Lily. She looked at me, her hand brushing mine again. And for the first time since this all started, I didn't feel lost. I felt done. As we walked out of the cafe together, I didn't look back. Not at the man who looked like he wanted to disappear. Not at the woman who once promised forever. The door swung shut behind us. And inside me, something did the same. Weeks passed. Papers were signed, keys exchanged, furniture divided like battlefield spoils. The silence in my apartment felt foreign at first, too clean, too calm. No footsteps down the hall. No passive-aggressive comments over cereal. Just me, a couch that still smelled faintly like cologne, and the steady tick of time moving on. Jenna didn't fight the divorce. She didn't beg, didn't apologize again either. I think, in the end, she realized that no amount of explanation could undo what we'd both become. And maybe she didn't want it anymore. What surprised me more than her silence was how easy it was to breathe without it. And then there was Lily. We started seeing each other more often, not in the pointed, performative way we had before, but quietly, naturally. A walk through the park, lunch that turned into dinner, a movie night that bled into sunrise. She came over one Friday with Thai food and a bottle of wine. No makeup, sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun. She looked at home. We talked. About everything. About nothing. She teased me for my terrible taste in streaming shows. I laughed at her inability to remember actor names. Somewhere between egg rolls and the second glass of wine, we ended up on the couch, close, not touching. The air thick with something unspoken. I still can't believe we did all that, she said softly. I glanced over. Do you regret it? Lily took a long breath. I regret how it started, but not where it brought us. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. That night, we stayed in the same bed. No pretense. No tension. Just warmth. Conversation. Silence that didn't need to be filled. She kissed me slow, like she wasn't trying to prove anything. And when she whispered goodnight with her head resting on my chest, I realized something quietly seismic. She was never part of the revenge. She was what came after. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was rebuilding from rubble. I felt like I was finally starting from something solid. It was a Tuesday morning, a few weeks after everything. Lily was still asleep in my bed, her hair tangled across the pillow, breathing soft and even. I stood by the window with a mug of black coffee, watching the world stretch itself awake below. The city moved like it didn't remember any of the chaos we'd left behind. That's when the thought landed. Not a dramatic flash, just clarity. Lily had known Jenna would be at the cafe that day. Not guessed, not stumbled into it. She'd planned it. The timing, the suggestion, the way she texted me, already watching from across the street, the way she wore confidence like perfume. She didn't just seize the moment, she created it. And I hadn't seen it until now. I turned it over in my mind like a coin between my fingers. Was it manipulation? Maybe. Was it cruel? Not exactly. It was deficient. The final act in a play neither of us admitted we were still writing. I sat down at the edge of the bed, ran a hand through her hair gently, and whispered her name. She stirred. You knew, I said softly, that Jenna would be there. Her eyes didn't open, but she smiled. Just slightly. I did, she whispered. No apology. No denial. Just confirmation. She rolled closer, resting her cheek against my thigh, and the silence between us was soft, not sharp. I needed you to see it, she said. Not just the kiss. The lie. I didn't answer. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't. Because somehow, knowing it was all part of her design didn't change what came after. Didn't cheapen the nights we'd laughed until our ribs hurt. Didn't unwrite the way she looked at me when the world finally quieted. I brushed her hair from her face, staring down at this woman who'd once been background noise in my life, and now was the only clear thing in the frame. You could have told me, I said. I could have, she murmured, eyes still closed. But you weren't ready. I let the silence answer for me. She was right. I needed the fall, the fire, the fracture. I needed to see Jenna for what she was. And maybe, just maybe, I needed to see Lily for who she'd always been, someone willing to hold a mirror to my life, even if it shattered me first. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds. Inside, I felt nothing heavy. No guilt, no anger, just a strange calm. Some betrayals don't need punishment. They correct themselves. And sometimes, the best revenge is surviving well enough to no longer need one.